Star Citizen has added a lot of contracts and factions to work for in the past year. But with patch 4.4, they added interstellar hauling, which is all well and good for the space truckers who want to load up and shift thousands of SCU of cargo boxes. But personally, I'd rather... Anyway, an old friend has returned with a newly named faction who provides high-paying contracts for small hauls that take you across the 3 star systems. Tekia, Twitch, Pacheco, and her new group, Dead Saints, will have you hauling meat popsicles and questionable pharmaceuticals to the more nefarious places of the verse. But they also have some very easy-to-run contracts in Nyx. So this got me to thinking. With Star Citizen currently being free to play until the 3rd of December, there'll potentially be lots of starter ships flying around. So how viable is a starter for running the brand new smuggling contracts? I've taken 3 of the most popular starters that are under 100 freedom tokens and stacked them against each other for this guide to the Dead Saints contracts. And as I'm focusing on starters, this tutorial video is a bit more newbie friendly than my usual activity guides that assume broader game knowledge. So if you're already an experienced player, there may be a tip or two that you didn't know, or you can use the chapter markers to skip across the spoon feeding. Feel free to share your own tips with new players down in the comments, whilst we traverse some of the verse's less savoury but very pretty locations. Talking of new players, as I said, Star Citizen is currently free to play during the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, where you can rent any of these ships for free on the respective manufacturer day, as well as every other ship. IAE also brings with it special referral bonuses for new accounts. If you haven't registered an account yet, or you registered in the last 24 hours and haven't applied a referral code, you can get a bonus 50,000 credits and, until December the 3rd, a Star Kitten flight suit permanently attributed to your account by using my referral code or quick link in the pinned comment. The bonus will apply once you have pledged $40 or more. Now then, during the free fly event, you'll be given a Crusader Intrepid to fly as standard, and as much as I do like this as a starter for low-risk activities in my running of the intro smuggling contract, all it took was one unfortunate strike from a small missile, and an engine was gone, putting the ship into an irrecoverable spin. So, for this reason alone, I am eliminating the Intrepid based solely on how frequently enemy ships are hovering above locations in the Pyro system. So, onto my favourite ship manufacturer with the Drake Cutter. As much as I love the space camper van, and it's fine for running the intro by making a wish to the item desync gods to ensure the one cryopod that isn't attached to the grid stays in place, for the pharmaceutical smuggling contract, it just doesn't have the space available. And so we land at the inevitable conclusion. For years, the Avenger Titan, affectionately known as the Penguin, has been the king of starters for its all-round perfection. And for starter-friendly smuggling, it, unsurprisingly, outshines the rest once again. With its nose-mounted ballistic Gatling and wing-mounted laser cannons on top of its reasonable quantum fuel tank and 8 SCU cargo grid, this is the perfect starter for going across all 3 systems. With that said, if you just want to run the cryopod contracts and the additional Dead Saints work when we get to the brand new Nyx system, then the other 2 can still be used. But for the smuggling, I'll be using the Titan. The intro contract for Dead Saints always sets off from the planet Hurston in the Stanton system at Lorville's teaser spaceport. So if you are a new player and not yet jumped in, choosing to run the new player experience tutorial and then selecting Hurston as your starting location will give you a gentle entry into how the very basics work. For this, all you'll need is a Pyro multi-tool with a tractor beam attachment and a space-worthy suit and helmet that the tutorial gives you anyway. Open your Mobiglass with F1 and then go to the Contracts app, and then we're going to toggle to Unverified. This opens up an ominous red contracts list, which have varying levels of risk, but we want to go to the hauling header and take the Rookie Haul contract from Dead Saints. Now, this will more often than not have the delivery set somewhere in Pyro, but in order to show you more of what Dead Saints have to offer, and as a suggestion, I'm going to abandon and retake it until it gives me the destination of Levski. You can abandon and retake the intro to find your desired drop-off as much as you want without any time penalty. Be aware that once the intro is done, abandoning will incur an extra wait time on top of the contract regeneration. Head over to your freight elevator terminal and the cryopods should be right at the top in their own little contract section. Transfer them onto the left-hand side and raise the elevator. Then it's time to load up your ship and head out. Now, we are in small ships with teeny-weeny quantum fuel tanks, so we'll likely need to get used to rest stops at stations. If a route you're taking won't let you jump directly to where you need to go because of fuel restriction, look for a station closer to top off your go juice. Opening your map app in Mobiglass, this time just by pressing F2, use the search box in the top left to look for your destination, which, if you're traveling inter-system like we are, will be the gateway station first. Either click the routing box, or click the location itself and tap R to set a route. Jump into Quantum and put your feet up. Maybe watch some YouTube or join the Abyss, my Star Citizen-focused Discord server. But whatever you do, do not get out of your seat. As an old hand at Star Citizen, there are certain things you simply don't do. And rolling the dice of fate by leaving your seat during quantum travel is not worth the risk with the distances we're going to be covering. Once you reach the gateway, there will be a jump point and a station. You can either refuel at an external landing pad or request a hangar. Eventually, you will get used to the signs of how to orientate yourself for the station and where the external pads are. If you're lucky, you'll see a white chevron or two halfway along a strut. That'll most likely be a pad. But if there's no other ships there, using your ping will reveal twin defense turrets at the end of each pad. But we are going to request a hangar to refuel both the ship and ourselves. You can request a hangar by pressing left alt and N when you are within 10 kilometers of the station's quantum beacon, and once landed, open your Mobiglass and go to landing app to refuel. If you are heading out of your ship to refuel yourself, tap I to turn your engines off. Again, this is a very old Star Citizen tip to make sure you can get back into your ship again and it doesn't just start floating up by itself. Now it's time to head to Nyx, approach the gate, and if you're not already, switch to nav mode, wait for the calibration, and then activate the jump tunnel. If this is your first time navigating a tunnel, you just need to steer your way through. And if you've got the velocity indicator on like I do, ignore it and just focus on your center of HUD marker. There is a bug that may or may not send you back to where you came from, and if this happens, you just need to try again. It may be a workaround, it may not be, but personally, I will always fly back to the station, store and retrieve my ship just to refresh it, and then try the jump again. Hopefully though, you'll now be in Nyx, and given how new the system is, I'd recommend just getting the hell away from the jump tunnel exit, and as a dual joystick user, I just decouple drift in a clear direction. But you might want to land at the station to set your regeneration imprint in the clinic, so that you respawn in Nyx if an unfortunate event happens. Nyx currently only has 3 star map points of interest, the 2 gateway stations, and Levski. This makes Levski a prime target for people setting up quantum interdiction on the direct routes. So we're going to grab ourselves another Dead Saints contract now that we're here, as there are hand-carryable small box missions available, as well as the larger cargo recovery that we'll get to later. We'll take the small box delivery mission for now, and this will give us 2 things. Dead Saints standing for the non-hauling contracts as they're separate, and an indirect approach to Levski. Track the new contract that you've just accepted, and then jump to the location. Switch to SCM mode as soon as you arrive, and if you haven't already, make sure your power is to shields and weapons predominantly. It doesn't matter how many pips you've got in your engines, as long as there's one. Now head towards the wreck, and it's time for a little bit of a fight. At worst, it'll be a vulture or a prospector, but most of the time, it's ships that are the same size or possibly even smaller than you. So focus down and beware of debris, if you're flying decoupled like I do. Once they're dealt with, check that you've got your helmet on and head out to grab the package from the wreck. Now it's time to finally head to Levski. When you arrive at the quantum exit point about 70 kilometers away from Delamar, there's likely going to be a lot of activity. So be aware of traffic, especially people in their naval pleasure yachts, and head for the borehole and land in hangar. There are a lot of external pads with freight elevators, but as we've got the hand-carryable package to deliver on top of our frosty friends, the relative safety of landing in hangar is preferable. Focusing on our smuggling contract first, the cryopods just need to be sent down on the freight elevator to complete that contract. The package that we need to take to within Levski should already be tracked, but if not, make sure to track it, as it could be asking us to deliver to one of 3 levels. We'll take our hangar elevator to customs and look from there. If the marker is above, head to the internal transit elevator on the right, and if it's below, use the one on the left. The marker itself will likely be for a random surface, but if there's already a box blocking that surface, look for one of these Covalex kiosks to deliver. There's at least 2 on each level. Before we head back to Stanton to continue smuggling, we're going to save another smuggler's cargo and check out the other Dead Saints contract that I mentioned, currently available in Nyx. Under the Mercenary tab in Unverified, we'll take Finishing the Job. Don't forget to refuel and repair if you need to before leaving. This contract will have the same types of enemies as the previous one, but when you arrive, there's a little bit more than a hand-carryable box to move. Don't despair though, this is still starter friendly. All you need to do is hop in the pilot seat and fly away. The key thing to bear in mind here is that this ship is damaged, so might be on the crab a bit when you apply power. So once again, decoupled drifting in your desired direction is strongly advised. If the contract takes you to Levski or one of the stations and you land in hangar, be aware that as soon as you cross the hangar threshold, those odd flight characteristics will spike as you're then having to deal with gravity. But if you're heading for Levski and using one of the external pads, just make sure you land close enough so that you don't have to mess around. Unfortunately, the Cutlass doesn't have any accessible components that you could strip off and sell or otherwise use, but you can take the weapons off. They're not really worth it, but if you want to, then the ports should already be unlocked once you've got in. But if you don't see this red text when you're sat in the pilot seat, just press Right Alt and K and it should appear. Then you can tractor off the weapons, lifting them using the prompt on screen at their attachment point. Alternatively, you could spend the 40-odd thousand to repair this Cutlass Black and use it to run some more missions. But you won't be able to store it, and when you travel across servers during quantum travel, you might find yourself drifting alone in space while the ship disappears. So we'll just stick to our starter ship. It's time to say goodbye to Levski and Nyx for now, as the smuggling contracts currently only show up when you're in Stanton or Pyro. As with the Nyx contracts, more will probably be added later on. Once we're back in Stanton, it's time to head to GrimHex to pick up some totally legitimate pharmaceuticals to deliver into Pyro. But also, as I'm not in a rented Titan, I'll take the opportunity to pick up a Goliath quantum drive for improved speed and fuel efficiency. And this is where these contracts come in handy. They will quite often take you to places that have value for you to visit, or they're at least nearby. In this case, the Ninetales gang-controlled station of GrimHex, the orbit of Crusader, which is essentially the Mos Eisley of Stanton, and is a baby Levski. Going up to the main concourse and having bought my drive from Dumper's depot on the first floor, as I stored my Titan on landing, I can just go into my vehicle manager and fit the quantum drive. But before I do that, due to a bug, I need to unequip the jump module, save the loadout, then fit the Goliath and re-equip the jump module. If you don't do this, your jump module for going through gates will vanish completely, and you'll need to buy a new one from the Gateway Station's Platinum Bay in the Galleria. Jumping through to Pyro, and you'll notice that there is a whole lot more to this system's star map than Nyx. It's also much larger, so be very aware of how much quantum fuel you have remaining. As a rule of thumb, for starter ships, you'll be able to jump fully fueled from the gateway to a station nearby to the location, or the location itself. Certain ground locations have refuel and repair services. Just look at what facilities are available and you select the location on the star map. These contracts are multi-point drop-off, so will take you to a couple of planet or moon settlements. As I covered at the start of the video, sometimes these locations will have enemy NPCs hovering above, but are perfectly manageable by our Titan, with normally some help from the ground defense rocket turrets from the settlement itself. When it's clear to land, the primary thing to keep in mind is that being landed in a lawless system makes you vulnerable, so being aware of your surroundings and moving with purpose are the priorities. But mostly, you will be fine. It's just something to be aware of. Ground location freight in Pyro is handled via these outbuildings, normally close to a makeshift landing pad that you can refuel and repair at, but to be quick as possible, I always prefer to set down right by the freight elevator first to unload, send the cargo down, and then hop back into my ship so that I have radar active. And as a bonus top tip that quite a lot of experienced players don't even know about, if you hold your interaction key while sat in your cockpit, hover over the radar and then scroll, it will adjust how far out you see for pips. I like to have this set close to or at my ship's largest emission, so that if something can see me, I can see it. There's a little bit more to that, obviously, but if you want to know more, you can check out my stealth guide that I made for salvagers. With our first set of boxes dropped off, it's over to the next location, with a refuel probably highly likely that you can do before you take off or go to a nearby station. And again, this is where the discover aspect comes in for these contracts. There might be some funky gear at the shop where you drop off, or the nearby station might be one of the primary Pyro locations with a contested zone for some first-person shooter and high-grade component loot shenanigans. Once you've finished your delivery, there's a wealth of contracts that you can run in Pyro, or you can hop back to Stanton or Nyx to keep running the starter-friendly Dead Saint stuff, or the Framp. Hopefully you found this guide useful, and if you did, please be sure to subscribe for more, and for my regular viewers, let me know in the comments if you prefer the broader information compared to my usually tightly trimmed guide videos. Until the next one, fellow citizens, fly safe, and beware the bugs.